Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Hi. So what is a librarian doing here? You might be wondering. I'm not a wolf in sheep's clothing. I do come from a background of geography. I have a master's in geography. And I'm hoping that by the end of this presentation, you have a better understanding of why it is that I think GIS librarianship is such a good idea. So this is just an overview of what I want to present. So for my introduction and motivation, during my librarianship qualification, I did fieldwork at ASL, which is the African Studies Library at UCT, and I was introduced to two things. Firstly was a collaborative project between UCT and Stanford, and they were doing a digitization of maps, and I was also introduced to the profession of a GIS librarian. And I realized that there's a significant research potential for the intersection of GIS services, geospatial data, the digitization and georeferencing of maps. This can be applied in virtually all disciplines. And for my library course, I had the opportunity to do a self-study research project. So I decided to look at the literature, and I realized that there was a very highly based American bias in the literature with regard to GIS librarianship. So it led me to the question is, what presently constitutes academic cartographic libraries? The key findings of this research basically show that there is a gap between international and South African institutions, that there is a need for GIS librarians. It is an expanding discipline. Recommendations are for collaborations, for future projects, as well as for research. So let's jump into the literature, shall we? I've just highlighted I want to highlight the salient points. So in terms of concepts, according to AFMUF 2006, GIS is defined as the infrastructure, spatial data, and application used to inventory, manage, and analyze spatial data. It is argued that GIS has ushered in a new era of spatial information management. Not only has there been a shift from print to digital formats, but the shift has resulted in new ways that society views, understands, and employs maps. Maps are now incorporated into processes where geographic and topical data can be transformed into information that addresses real-world issues and research questions. And that's from Weimer and Reading 2006. They also broadly define geographic librarianship, okay, as a profession of providing geographic information resources and services in a library setting. The definition has three areas of expertise. The first is cartographic materials cataloging. The second is the traditional print map librarianship. And then thirdly, GIS librarianship. Just to give you some kind of indication of employment, an informal job survey of postings from American libraries from 2004 to 2006 indicates that about 24 positions that required GIS skills and another 12 that included GIS experience was stipulated as a preferred skill set for a general or subject specialist position. It is evident that geographical information librarianship is an emerging skill set, a research and training area. In terms of infrastructure, I just want to look at what Hauser had to say. He spoke about three different types of systems that one can have. You can have a centralized system where there is one person or one unit who provides series and data, and this is usually on a campus, just an example. A distributed system on a campus could be where you have interconnected individuals and units, and then you can also have a hybrid where you have the different models together. In the paper that I wrote in the research that I did, Shaw 2006 provides a very good description of geographical data dissemination system, but I don't want to go into that for this presentation. I do want to just focus on previous studies. There was a prediction that the number of librarians with GIS would double by 2012, and that was about 6 years ago. So they haven't validated the results, but we're quite interested to see what they have to say. And then Cowell 2002, I used these levels of GIS service later on, A high-level service is one that has a full GIS setup. Medium is GIS applications available via the web that needs user input. And then low is where you just have static maps online. Just to summarize, Solar and Rodovan 2008 state that recent developments in information and communication technologies, especially the internet and the web, have brought about significant changes in the ways we generate, distribute, and access and use information. This new era, the digital era, is changing the paradigms of librarianship. The changing paradigms have impacted academic libraries. Therefore, given such developments, this study aims to better understand what presently constitutes academic map libraries. So in terms of the methods of the study that I did, given that there was this American bias, I decided I wanted a much wider geographical comparison. The idea of using an international ranking system or international library statistics would have provided this wider comparison. However, such research is not actually available. The global library statistics are outdated both geographically and thematically, and it was therefore decided to use the academic ranking of world universities, which is an internationally accredited ranking system for academic institutions. And just to validate this particular ranking system, The Economist stated that RU is the most widely used annual ranking of the world's research universities. It annually ranks 1,000 universities, and the top 500 are published on the web. So my sample size was derived by listing the top 10 universities from different countries, because I wanted that international perspective. And I included Stanford because UCT had a collaborative project with them. And then I decided to include the top African countries, and interestingly, 3 of which all fell within or come from South Africa. So I ended up with 9 universities, and I compared them by reviewing their respective websites and focused on certain aspects, namely their technology, their services, and the legislation. And that's just an overview of the universities that were included in the study. So for technology, just before I go into the results, the literature has indicated that while libraries may not provide map or GIS services, a center or GIS lab or department on campus may facilitate such services. And I therefore decided to look and see what was within the scope of the library and what was outside of the management of the library. And I termed this alternative. So you can see on the ones that I've got library, which is within library management, and then alternative outside library management. So you can see that Tokyo, Witwatersrand, and KZN, either they didn't seem to display any of this hardware data. Most universities, however, indicated that computers, printers, scanners, and photocopiers, or a combination of these tools, were available in the library. Alternative hardware for the US and UK universities included printers, computers, and scanners. And only 2 of the 3 South African universities have some kind of library hardware, and UCT seemed to rank highest in this. When I looked at services, most international university libraries indicated that a combination of GIS, remote sensing, desktop publishing, and data manipulation were available both inside and outside the library. The South African universities did not indicate library access to any of these software packages. It appears that for UCT and the University of Witwatersrand, such access was only available outside of the library. So using Carwell's high, medium, low ranking system for describing different levels of GIS librarian service, these services were then ranked according to their range and accessibility. The most highly ranked services, 5 out of 9, were located within the international libraries. This indicates that these libraries play a key role in providing map-related services. Furthermore, the UK and US universities indicate that high-ranked services are also housed outside the library. So when it comes to legislation, the legislation pertaining to map-related services and collections were ranked according to accessibility and detail. While most universities provided policies related to their collections and services, these did not directly pertain to maps or cartographic data. The legislation of most universities, 4 out of 10, were therefore ranked as minimum. Just want to do a bit of a comparative summary. It is indicated that while the South African libraries do have map collections, these are not marketed or accessible in the same manner or as readily available as most of the international libraries. GIS and related map services do not appear to be readily provided. Most of the international libraries have digital images of their map collections, and these are used for both searching and browsing. Extensive GIS and map-related services are provided at international libraries. They've got online data sets, they've got website bibliographies, they have online map programs, the list goes on and on. All libraries adhere to similar copyright and license policies, i.e. 10% of a source may be copied, citing is mandatory, restricted access is enforced to copyright material, etc., etc. Recommendations are for further research into the standards associated with GIS cartographic data, especially cataloging and metadata is becoming a buzzword. This will allow for better understanding of how they are implemented and what are theoretically and practically efficient. Most of the libraries provide scanning, photocopying, and printing services. The functionalities of these services, however, are of superior quality in the US and in other international libraries. I just want to say that South African Libraries does provide a standard service, and since having done this research through the collaborative project with Stanford, we now have the William and Yvonne Jacobson digital program, which has put static maps online. And as far as I know, it's the only university that I'm aware of that's doing that at the moment. So we have digitized maps, and there are going to be 3 collections. At the moment available is Cape Town street plans of South Africa, and these date back to the early 1900s and before then. We've also got African historical maps, and the really exciting part is that we also have access to Stanford's collection, or part thereof. Okay. Going back to the slide that I have up there, clearly there is a gap between international and South African institutions. This gap is to do with range and the quality of services provided. Why do we have this gap was beyond the scope of this research, but speculations can include we don't have the technology, we don't have the training, and we don't have the funding. Clearly, geographical information librarianship is an expanding discipline. There is a need for it. Recommendations would be for collaboration such as what UCT has done with Stanford. We also need further projects that can go in and identify gaps and therefore subsequently fill them. And then in terms of research, issues need to be addressed that can validate the results of this research study and also build on it. And also there needs to be an international focus, especially within South Africa and Africa as a whole. Now I just want to leave you with this. Having GIS librarians who act as a living clearinghouse, if you want to call them that, to manage data and make it available lowers the barriers to research. Thank you.